Good morning, students. This is Lakshmi Prasad of Computer Department from Sri Shankara Vidyalaya. In this lecture, I will explain how to handle the CSV files. How to handle CSV file means it through Python using file handling. Okay. Now, what are CSV file? What are the characteristics of CSV file? When we use CSV file, and what are the advantages of CSV file, and what are the disadvantages, and how to write and read the CSV file. These all are the contents of this video. In this lecture I will explain all of these points. Now listen, what is CSV file? In CSV, by the name it is written here, see, comma separated value is a file format for data storage which looks like a text file. Means the CSV file is always stored in the form of text form, and which are separated, each and every field is separated by comma, or so many delimiters are there. Comma, the separator character of CSV file is called the delimiter. Okay, the information is organized with one record or on each line, and each field is separated by comma. That's why it is known as comma separated value. See in this diagram how the CSV files are stored. CSV files goes through the data, and that particular data, whatever the CSV file we send through our system, that can be stored in the form of Excel sheet, or in the form of database, or in the so many ways we can store the data by converting the text fields. These are all the text fields. CSV fields means these are all text fields. CSV comma separated value, these are the text fields that are stored in the form of either in the form of Excel sheet or in the database format. Means in a tabular form we will store the details in tabular form. Okay, now the separator of characters means comma is known as delimiter. Default mode popularly delimiter is comma, but we can use other special characters also that are known as colon, like colon, pipe, or semicolon, etc. These are also known as delimiter. We can separate by using these also. I will explain through the program. I will explain each and everything in other lectures. Okay, now see what are the characteristic of CSV file. One line for each record means in a either it is in the text field or in any other format, it always the single line record shows a record of a separate, like see, name of a student, after that comma, class of a student, after that comma, and marks of a student. Okay, this always each line shows a single record. Okay, that is known as one line each record. Comma separated fields is required because each field is separated by comma. Means name, comma, class, comma, and whatever the details, every field is separated by comma. That's why it is a comma separated fields. Means each and every field is separated by commas. Now space character adjacent to comma are ignored. Suppose if we set delimiter comma as a delimiter, then the other special characters are to be ignored through CSV file. Okay, next, fields within built commas are separated by double quote characters. Fields within inbuilt commas are separated by double quotes. If inbuilt comma, if we required comma, then it is separated by double quotes. Okay, I will explain everything through the program. Okay, see here in this figure. See in this figure, CSV stands for separated values, comma separated values. Each record consists of fields separated by comma, that is delimiter, and it is used to storing the data in a spreadsheet or database, whatever I explained in the last page. Okay, each line of file is called a record. That all the four things are the characteristic of CSV file. Now let's move. When we require to use CSV files, when data has strict tabulated in structure, at that time we can use CSV file to large database between programs to transfer the data. Large data, if you want to transfer large data, at that time we use CSV file because CSV file takes less amount of data to store the values. That's why we are using CSV file to import and export data to office applications. At that time also we are using these modules. Okay, to store, manage and modify shopping cart catalog. For that also we use CSV file, because it doesn't, CSV file doesn't takes less amount of data to transfer the data. If we store that data in a Excel sheet or in database format, then it takes large amount of data to transfer, and large space is required to transfer this data. That's why at that time we are using CSV files. Now what are the advantages of CSV file? It is faster to handle because it decreases the size. It is size is small, okay, as well as I had told earlier, easy to generate. We can easily generate by a special delimiters. It can be easily generated. Okay, CSV human readable and easily understand and edible, means the files can be easily understandable in the format of understand. CSV simple and implement and parse. CSV is processed by almost existing application. Almost existing application means whatever the data stored, that is converted into CSV file and we can easily use that data. These are the advantages of CSV file. And we can use CSV files are three text files are the text files. You can apply text files procedures on these and split values using split function. We can split the values by using split function. You already learned in string function, that is split function. But there is a better way of handling CSV files, which is using CSV module of Python. By import module CSV module, we can use these files, we can handle easily. Okay, CSV module of Python provides functionality to read and write tabular data in CSV format, that we already know. Okay, it provides two specific type of data, read and write, that I will explain. Okay, these are the advantages. Now let's see what are the disadvantages. No standard way of representing binary data. Okay, binary data, we doesn't understand what is binary data. If we want to see the binary data, that also we doesn't understand how it looks and what is shown in the binary data. That's why we want to convert that particular data into either in tabular form or in user understandable or readable format. There is no distinction between text and numeric values. Yeah, this is the disadvantage of CSV, because text and numeric both becomes a similar, both looks like same and both acts as same in CSV file, because all the values are stored in the form of string. That's why the numeric value and text value doesn't differentiate in this CSV file. And poor support of special characters and control characters. Yeah, this is one more disadvantage. Special characters are to be controlled, and control characters, whatever, only a single character is used as a delimiter, and rather all the characters are doesn't use at that time, but at that particular time we cannot use any special character as a delimiter. That why it doesn't support the all the characters. Next, CSV allows to move basic data only. Complex configuration cannot be imported and exported in this way. Yeah, this is one more disadvantage. A large data, if you want to send transfer large amount of data, it will not be able to. It shows so many complex errors are there, because we want to convert that particular data into CSV or CSV data into tabular form or in Excel form. At that time it requires the complex configuration is due to this complex, it is impossible. Problems with importing and CSV into SQL, means it importing the CSV file into SQL, it becomes problematic. It is this is also a disadvantages of CSV file. No distinction between null and quotes. Okay, in had you had learned earlier in class 11 what is the use of null. Null means nothing is there. Within double quotes we had done nothing, or we had don't want to write anything in within the quotes, that acts as a null. It doesn't distinguish between this null and within quotes. This is also one disadvantage of CSV file. Now let's move how to write the CSV file. For reading and writing, we have to open the file. First thing, we have to open the file, we have to create the file. As we learned earlier, the text files, we have to open the text files. We have to open the binary files also. For reading or writing, we want to open the file. Okay, reading and writing operations from text file is very easy. First, we have to import the CSV. For CSV files, we have to import the Python module CSV file. For then only we can use the CSV files and we can use the functions of CSV, that either it is reader or writer. Okay, for writing, we open file W. In writing mode, we use W mode for opening the file, and through csv.writer method we can create write object to call the write row method. Only three methods are required. So for csv.writer, it is used to write the all the content, whatever the contents that we have to write. And to one more function is there, write row, and third function is known as write rows. Writer returns an object. csv.writer returns an object which writes data into CSV file. Okay, that means for read, like read function, it always occupies contains, it reads the contents of the CSV file. Similarly, for write, returns a write object which writes the data into CSV file. That particular object, after that, write row means one row of data into writer object. One row, write row is used to write one row, but write rows is used for multiple rows. Write row function is used for multiple rows. Okay, these are the three functions which are used for writing CSV file. Now let's move to reading a file. How to read a file? For reading a file, we use R mode for reading a file, as you done earlier. Using object, we create new file reader object using csv.reader. For reading a file, we require csv.reader, and for writing a file, we require csv.writer as an object. Method to read each row of file. Here also three files are opening in opening mode. W is for reading, R for writing, A for append. These three modes are used for CSV file also. After file operation, close opened file using close method. This is also as we had done earlier for binary files and as well as text file. Okay, now see, this is the coding for writing a CSV file. How to write a CSV file? Suppose import CSV. This import CSV means the CSV module is imported in our program. After importing CSV, we have to open a file. See in this here one, for opening a file, new with open a.csv. This here file name is A and it is opened in W mode as new file. New file is a object for CSV. New file writer is equal to csv.writer new file. That particular new file we have to write. It creates the object for writer. Writer object. It creates the writer object. After creating the writer object, we have to write single row. One by one we have to write the rows. New file writer dot write row. Write row is a function. Within that function we had sent user ID and beneficiary. That means these are the arguments which we want to set in write row. That means two columns are there separated by comma. These user ID and beneficiary is written in that particular a.csv file. After that, first row, next row, new file writer dot write row. Again one row is created. 1 and xyz is another row. Third row again 2 pqr. This is another row. Now after writing all the rows, we have to close new file dot close. This is your file, how to write a file. Now see, code for reading a CSV file. Import CSV. With open CSV file, we have to import CSV file. After opening a file, new reader for csv.reader is used for opening a file in reading mode. After that, we want to print that for whatever the contents we had read from that a.csv, that we have to display one by one, row by row. For that, we use for loop row in new file reader print row within brackets row. That means it will display the rows one by one. After displaying all the records of that particular file, CSV file, we have to close our file. This is your coding part. Now I will explain in another lecture, in next lecture, how to do this CSV file, or how to handle these files in practically I will explain. Now coding for reading and writing a file. For one example, I will show you. For example, info.css is a file. Virat 45 43 India. We all are separated by commas. That means this is your first row. Cook 25 27 England. England, that is England. Okay. Root 29, this is the third row. Means 3 records are there in info.css. Now this is a program. See, Python to read the CSV file and stored in list of array. How it is stored in the list? Okay, first import CSV file. List is the best way where we have to store our files. We have to store our files in the form of list, because it is the best and it is a easily used. We can use list objects. That's why if we want to do any correction or any addition, the list is the best example of Python. Import file CSV, open info. After opening data CSV, in data CSV we have to open the file in all the content of the file using csv.reader. We can store the data. After that, list dot, it will convert that particular data is converted into list. List is a function. Within the list, data CSV is passed as an argument. That means whatever the data in CSV file, that will store in the form of list. After that, print list. Okay, this is your coding. Now see what's the output. See, this is the above is the coding, and display is now Virat 45. This is a nested. It stores the values in the form of nested list. That's why this is the coding, and output is shown here. This is it always stores in the form of list. If you want to edit this list, we can easily handle the list in Python. That's why we always, everything, whatever the data is there, that we should convert in list. After that, we can edit that and we can store that particular value in the file. Now you all have done the practicals part. Okay, no mistake, nothing is there, nothing is shown, no error message is there, because you are not trying the practice. You are not doing the practical for CS. Okay, mistakes are the proofs that you are trying. That means you never show the mistakes, means you are not trying. Okay, try all the programs, as well as if any problem is there, you will send me the message in my personal WhatsApp number. Okay, thank you, goodbye, take care.